Hello and welcome to Homegrown Hangout. I'm Homegrown, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the new Wonder Woman movie, but not just about the Wonder Woman movie. Like, this is the first big superhero movie that has come out, or the first big Marvel or DC superhero movie that has come out since COVID hit. Like, all Marvel hasn't really had anything lately. And I've had a big radicalization to the ideas that I have today, kind of were brought on by the COVID pandemic. I think many other people would agree with that idea. So, I used to be a huge Marvel fan. I used to love the Marvel movies. And, alright, this goes into what I have written, so let me just start. Hey, so I watched Wonder Woman the other day, and it sort of made me realize why I left the Marvel fandom specifically, but more broadly, the superhero fandom generally as a whole. To be perfectly honest, the only superhero media I've really enjoyed recently has been The Boys on Amazon. I think it's a pretty good TV show. But let's start with Wonder Woman, because that's the movie that just came out. Now, I know Gal Gadot is Israeli. That doesn't really seem to factor too much from my interpretation. I mean, there was a scene depicting an Arab leader wishing for some bigger empire, which is pretty yikes. But I don't know, it feels kind of fairly standard for US propaganda. And that's kind of what this and all superhero movies are in general, which is kind of when I realized that that's really all they were, that's kind of when I moved past them. All right, so I guess at this point, there's a spoiler warning. I don't know, maybe I should have done a spoiler warning a little bit earlier, but spoiler warning. The real spoilers are coming, so if you haven't seen the movie and still want to see the movie, I guess go see it and click away. Well, without further ado, the movie was pretty fun, with action scenes like most superhero movies are, but I feel as though the propaganda can be most clearly seen through analysis of the three superpowered characters depicted. They're Wonder Woman, Barbara something, I forgot the Kristen Wiig character's name. I know the name's Barbara, I forgot the last name, whatever. And Maxwell Lord, played by the fabulous Pedro Pascal. I recently watched The Mandalorian, so I've been used to watching Pedro Pascal be a space armor dad, and now he's kind of the TV show Con Man. A little bit of a Trump parallel potentially, but not. So I think that's a little bit more aesthetic, and then than actual like an analytical. But yeah, I think it was Kristen Wiig played the other character. I think she did great. Pedro Pascal did really good, and Gal Gadot did fine. The thing I really noticed the most about the movie is it's kind of the idea of who gets to have power and how the film portrays who gets to be worthy of the use of power. Now, of course, there are exceptions, but most superhero stories portray their protagonists as inheriting this power. In the case of Wonder Woman, she inherited it from her father, Zeus. Iron Man inherits his money or his company from his dad. Superman inherits his powers from his alien DNA. And Spider-Man, I like the original Spider-Man still, I think, lives up pretty well, but he was just a random kid who gets powers, and then he had to have responsibility with those powers. I like that it still kind of showed him as being, oh yes, the person who gets powers happens to be morally correct and will always use the power well. And Where am I? Oh yeah, but even the Spider-Man story was eventually retconned into his parents being like secret agents who actually did put the spider powers in his DNA before the spider bite or something like that. I could go on about superhero origin stories forever. The point I'm making is that just about every instance, the protagonist is granted huge amounts of power and uses it as and is responsible because the movie shows us that they're good or it's destiny or something, that they're incorruptible. They might make a mistake, usually either about a quarter or halfway mark through the movie, but ultimately they always save the day because they're the protagonist and they're destined to have the power and use it fair and justly. And usually they are part of the status quo. They are upholders of the status quo. That they kind of represent either the U.S. nation as a whole or all people who have lost someone and seek to make the world a better place. And they sort of represent broader ideas, but in actuality, they're depicting a singular, incorruptible individual. And I don't know. I feel I don't really. It's fantasy. It's not real, and it kind of trains people into thinking that it's possible that uncorruptible, always good people exist. And they train you to think, yes, and you are one of them. You're the protagonist of your story. But that's not the real world. And I know it's supposed to be an escape, but it trains people into thinking that that is how the world does work, instead of being like, yes, this is obviously fiction. It's obviously fiction, but it kind of imparts a certain set of ideals. So that was the protagonist. Let's move on to the antagonists. The movie had two antagonists, Maxwell Lord and Barbara. Max was shown to have he was a capitalist, and he was like a father who had a weekend visitation with his son. But he was he was a working class person who was attempting to be a capitalist. And he did that. He set up a cooperative, and I was really excited when I saw the word cooperative. And then when I watched and saw what it really was, I was really disappointed. So he runs Black Gold Cooperative, which appears to have a business model of selling lots of stock to ordinary people, telling them that when his oil wells hit oil, they'll be rich. And that's not what a cooperative is, but that's just how stocks work. And it's kind of, in the beginning, it looks like a pyramid scheme, basically. And then he has this intense desire to find this magic rock that grants wishes. And he was like, if only I get the magic rock, then all my dreams will come true. So then he finds the magic rock. It's at the museum that Wonder Woman and Barbara, Kristen Wiig, work at. And the rock expert thinks that it's worthless, which is kind of neat. It's weird that the only time they show Kristen Wiig's character actually using their claimed expertise, she fails tremendously. I don't know. I feel like that's a kind of maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it's an internalized misogyny. It is like it's the girl boss movie that, yes, women in positions of extraordinary power will make the world better than if it's just men in positions of extraordinary power. The problem is I don't trust positions of extraordinary power. I don't trust that people will be able to occupy those positions without it corrupting them. So Barbara has wishes. She sees Barbara's like the quirky introvert type who is like doesn't get noticed by anyone and wishes she was popular. It's like a trope that, like, honestly, I don't know how it's a little played out, but she like grabs the wishing rock and wishes that she was like Diana, and then goes on. She wishes she was strong and smart and cool and sexy like Diana. And little does she know that that's Wonder Woman. So eventually she becomes fucking Wonder Woman. And it kind of shows her achieving that power and that power corrupting her, which I think, yes, that's how power works, but it doesn't corrupt Diana. And I think the fact that it doesn't corrupt Diana is a oversight, or it's what makes it so people think that, oh, if only I achieve power, I'll be able to make a difference. But no, when you achieve power and seek to manipulate that power to your own ends, or to on the ends to help people, eventually that power will manipulate you into only acting to further your own power, thinking I'm helping the people by making myself more powerful because my power is helping the people. But is your power actually, in the case of Wonder Woman, yes, she is saving people, but she's not real. Real people are real, and the lessons that they learn from superhero movies, it kind of, I think it contributes to like kind of the white savior complex that, oh, if only I have the power and swoop in, I could save everything. No. Once you get the power, you're going to be more worried about what it takes to have and keep that power than how you can use it to help people. So the ending of the character arcs for the two villains was eventually Maxwell renounces his wish and all the craziness goes back to normal, and Barbara renounce their wish. And the lesson to Maxwell but kind of is that he wanted to have the power to be like a somebody. He was a nobody and wanted to be a somebody. And it kind of felt like the lesson the movie was teaching him was, stay in your lane, peasant. And that's just kind of the vibe I got from it. And I don't know, I don't think that's the best lesson that we could be teaching in this day and age. And for Barbara, the lesson was, yeah, if you get power, you're a peasant, so you with power, it would corrupt you. Wonder Woman's one of the special inherited people with institutional power, so the power, she can use the power, she's supposed to have the power. If you try to take the power from her, you're the bad guy, because she's the good guy, because we said she's the good guy. Now, alright, I kind of ranted through some of the things that I wrote down, but I wanted to, one thing I want to talk about The Boys real quick, because I want to do a comparison between the lessons in this movie and the lessons in The Boys. And I think the lessons that are presented in The Boys and the arguments and the critical analysis of society presented in The Boys are much more reflective of reality than the lessons taught in the arguments presented in the analysis of the world. Because the world of Wonder Woman, where she's a magical person who saves everyone when they're in trouble, it's not real. However, so for that movie, I'd give it a capitalist propaganda out of 10. Now, on to The Boys. I want to say that The Boys presents a world where superpowers are something that are granted by a massive corporation, which, okay, that sounds about right. That if there were superpower, if there was an actual super serum that turned people into superheroes, it makes sense that it would be bought, owned, and controlled by a massive corporation. And that corporation doubles as a media corporation. It is a practical monopoly, and is a fairly decent allegory for any goddamn company you want to look at in the real world. And it shows superheroes as being people, or as represented by the company. The company puts out the movies that are the propaganda showing the superheroes as good people, when behind the scenes the superheroes are all corrupt individuals who they have the ultimate power and it has corrupted them. And I think it's more reflective of reality. And like the Superman analog is kind of Superman plus Captain America, and is literally the embodiment of American fascism and nationalism. And it's really fascinating to look at. So, I don't know. If you used to like superheroes, but recently you kind of like don't anymore, The Boys is pretty good. See if you like it. All right. Thank you so much for watching this video. I had fun making it. I had fun writing it ahead of time, and I had fun talking it. I hope you had fun listening to it. Now, please allow me to plug my things. Go to, I'm on Facebook. That's where I spend most of my time. Although that might change as I put more and more time into the YouTubes and the Twitches and the whatnot. So please subscribe to my YouTube, subscribe to my Twitch, hit the bell icon, comment. If you think I'm a huge idiot and you want to argue with me, please go in the comments and argue with me, and I will probably argue back. So please just do the things. If you liked it, maybe share it. Who knows? And yeah, have a fantastic day. Good night.